On average, more than 2,000 teen drivers are involved in fatal crashes each year. WIFR reporter Alyssa Kelly talks with the Illinois State Police to find out what contributes to these crashes.
30% of the yearly average of teens involved in fatal crashes happen during Memorial Day and Labor Day. That's about 7 deaths a day on average. The 100 deadly days of summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day marks an increase in traffic fatalities. Illinois saw 15 crashes within a 6-hour period. The Illinois State Police say they will heavily enforce traffic laws so it changes driving behavior.
The Illinois State Police has identified 4 things that either contribute to or cause fatal traffic crashes and personal injury traffic crashes. And in no particular order, those things are distracted driving, driving under the influence, occupant restraint, and speeding.
Illinois State Police say to put your distractions down and to make sure that you are focused on the road.
Thank you, Alyssa. And they also say to speak up if someone in your vehicle is unbuckled or with someone who is about to drive impaired. You may be able to save a life.